Muri bwanji, muri shani, mwashibukeni, muziwile chwani. Today's topic is going to be a very controversial one, and I want to give a quick disclaimer up front. This video is only going to be for educative purposes. Today we woke up to very shocking and interesting news due to the fact that Lusaka-based photographer popularly known as Chellah has been nabbed by the Zambian police. This was obviously due to the fact that he was suspected of 4 different charges of criminal activity. A lot of Zambians have been gravitating towards people like Chellah and siliya. The main reason why a lot of Zambians gravitate towards these people, and the main reason why these people have attained so much notoriety and fame, is due to the fact that they are representing popular opinion, and Zambians are relying on these 2 people because they are expressing their frustrations and they are representing their thoughts and feelings. So today's topic is obviously going to be mass psychology and the butterfly effect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished countrymen and women, the reason why the Zambia police obviously made this information public is due to the fact that today is the 18th of June, and in a few days, on the 22nd of June, right, it is alleged that a lot of Zambians are intending to protest due to a whole lot of different issues affecting the country, such as corruption, mismanagement of natural resources, poor leadership, and a whole lot of different issues affecting the country. So today is the 18th of June, and the Zambia police is sending a message to all the people who are intending on protesting on the 22nd of June. So this is one of the reasons why they obviously put up this information, because they could have done it privately, and they wanted to send a message to all the Zambians out there. And I understand their intentions, and I understand where they are coming from, because they do not want this situation to escalate and just get out of hand. I honestly understand where they are coming from, but I just want to say that this act that they did is going to have a reverse effect on the intentions that they had, because they are adding more fuel to the fire. Bantu, a lot of people are now even taking this as a jab to their freedom of expression, and a lot of Zambians are really taking this personal. So what I'm trying to say is, whatever message the Zambia police wanted to send to the Zambian public out there, right, it is having a reverse effect of their initial intentions. Zambians, but now you're just making the situation worse, because according to mass psychology, right, a lot of Zambians feel infringed. A lot of Zambians feel, like you are choking them. And when you're having their spokesperson, their alleged spokesperson, the person who's representing their frustrations, and you try to silence him, especially on certain days or, like in a certain period of time, right? You're just making it worse. I'm not really a judge, and I don't really know whether this man is guilty or not. That is up to the courts, the Zambian courts, to determine whether he is indeed guilty or not. The butterfly effect is also known as the chaos theory, right? The butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one state of a deterministic non-linear system can result in large differences in a later state. Can change the entire history and trajectory of Zambia. So if the Zambia police intention was obviously to sort of intimidate the public, this could be one of those tipping points that really brings about a domino effect, and things can get out of hand, because Zambians feel suffocated. Zambians feel choked. When you silence their voice, what else do you think they are going to do?
The butterfly effect, a name and concept formulated by American meteorologist and mathematician Edward Norton Lorenz in the 1960s, is the theory that one small change in the starting condition of an event, such as the flutter of an innocent butterfly soaring through the sky, can have a dramatic effect on the outcome of an event. like cause a tornado on the other side of the world, or less drastic, cause a plane to experience turbulence. Edward first popularized the butterfly effect after running weather forecasts through a computer using precise variables and realizing that just a minute alteration of any given calculation, such as wind speed, temperature, or humidity, caused a dramatic influence of the following 2 months' worth of simulated weather predictions. But this is by no means just the case with the weather, but every single event, thought, and outcome ever to have happened. This is why you did not read the title wrong, and I did not get you with clickbait. This video will have an impact on the outcome of your life in ways you probably never thought until you learn about the butterfly effect. So how can we relate and physically see this? Well, like I said, every single event in reality is the result of a past action. But there are some examples that will reminisce with all of us, because the action started out so small, yet had such a devastating or positive outcome on all of our lives. Let's take a look at a few of those examples. World War I was an event that changed the course of all of our lives, but what if World War I never took place? Well, that in theory could be equally as damaging, because another more devastating war may have broken out, but just what if? Well, it's been theorized that if somehow a war did not happen, there of course would have been no World War II, no Hitler rising to power, no 60+ million deaths, and fast forward many years, theory suggests there would be no tension with the Middle East, no Taliban, and no Al-Qaeda, just to name a few. But many say World War I was destined to happen, and they're probably right. World War I was a combination of many things, but it can be narrowed down to one small event that, if altered, could have changed its course entirely. And that was the wrong turn and the stalling of a car that was carrying the Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand. You see, on the morning of June the 28th, 1914, Franz's car was attacked with a grenade, which failed to hit its target, but instead injured passengers of the car behind. Later that day, Franz wanted to visit those wounded by the blast, and whilst en route, the driver of his car made a wrong turn down a street. Standing outside a cafe on this very street was 19-year-old Serbian Gavrilo Princip, one of the men involved in the attack on Franz that morning. He spotted the car had stalled whilst trying to turn around in the road, ran over and shot Franz and his wife dead. If not for the wrong turn made by Franz's car, he would not have been shot. If he had not been shot, Austria-Hungary would not have declared war on the home country of the man who shot him, which caused Germany to declare war on Russia, followed by France and Belgium, causing the UK to declare war on Germany, starting World War I. Had Franz not been assassinated, World War I would never have happened that way. It may not have been prevented, but it certainly would have started differently, potentially changing its outcome. All because a car took a wrong turn and stalled in the middle of the road. Whilst on the subject of world wars, you may have heard before that one pull of the trigger could have prevented World War II and the death of over 60 million people. Henry Tandy, a British soldier, allegedly bumped into Adolf Hitler in a French village in 1918, when a wounded Hitler walked into his line of fire, but Henry decided against shooting him, before a young Adolf nodded at him and walked away. Had he shot him, Adolf would not have been the driving force behind World War II, and it's anyone's guess what would have happened. World War II would have surely been different, and it may or may not have started, which may have been for better or for worse, because that would have had a knock-on effect on your ancestors who may never had met because of the fact World War II never took place, or had a different outcome, thus resulting in you never being born. But think about this, if Henry had pulled the trigger, although a war may have started, 60 million people may not have died. So just think, out of those 60 million who died, they could have gone on to have children, some of which could have been the next Einsteins or world-changing visionaries. All because one man decided against pulling the trigger. This one is interesting and is quite popular, because if JFK had not been assassinated, who knows what the outcome that would have had on the United States. Well, what if it could be traced back to when he was around 20 years old, that if he had chose to do something different on one certain day, he would not have been killed all those years later. You see, in 1940, 23 years before he was assassinated, he had an accident whilst playing sports, which is thought to be the driving force behind his never-ending struggle with back pain. If not for the back pain, he would not have worn a back brace. If he had not been wearing a back brace on the day he was assassinated, he would have slumped or fallen after the first non-fatal shot hit him. But instead, he stayed upright because of his back brace, allowing his body to be positioned perfectly for a second shot. Many experts have all agreed, if not for the back brace that was the result of years of lower back pain fueled from this sporting accident many years previously, JFK would have been able to duck out the way after the first shot, and the second fatal shot wouldn't have been feasible. Take the handful of people who were late for work on the morning of 9/11, or the fact that Seth MacFarlane missed his flight because he was drunk the night before, preventing him being killed that day, which would have been the end of Family Guy, and the millions of hours spent by people watching that show would have been spent doing something else, which would have resulted in a different outcome for those people. Take Elise O'Kane, a United Airlines flight attendant who typed her flight schedule incorrect into the airline's computer system before 9/11, which in turn led to her not being on her original scheduled flight 175. Take the fact the US Space Shuttle's two side thruster rockets had to be made a smaller size due to the fact they passed through many tunnels during transport. Tunnels which were made 2,000 years ago and were built at the time to just fit the width of two horses carrying a chariot. As someone put it, one of the most complicated and groundbreaking pieces of machinery in history had to be designed to fit around a decision made 2,000 years ago. Take this and the hundreds of personal scenarios you can think of relating to events that happened in your life, and you wonder how things could have been different, for better or for worse, if one little piece was taken away. If my parents had never met, I would never have been born. If I was never born, the 3,200 plus years that has been spent watching my videos by millions of people, which has literally changed the outcome of the world in some way or another, would never have happened. Sure, everyone would have done other things in that time, or watched other videos, but because it would have been different, maybe less or more time spent watching, different conversations with people or different thoughts depending on which video you've watched, a different outcome would result. Now, this is a question I do often ask myself. I wonder if by someone sitting and watching one of my videos, that prevented them from maybe going outside and getting into trouble, or that maybe those 5 minutes spent watching one of my videos or anyone else's video meant they had something in common with a person that led to them dating and potentially starting a family down the line. Now, I am not the cause of that or taking any credit for a scenario like that, but we are all here to serve a purpose one way or another, and we all seem to shape each other's lives a lot more than we think. And when you learn more about this, you will soon come to realise, as I explained, why the title of this video is not clickbait. The minutes you have spent watching this video has changed the outcome of your life, and in turn the lives of millions of others, because your actions today will be different. Some may be instant tiny things that happen today or this week, but in time what happens today will have a snowball effect on the direction of your life, which in turn can and will have a huge effect on everyone's life around you. But what does all this mean? Well, your life is precious and is the result of billions of events that have led to your existence and the billions more that will become your future. So go after that project you've always wanted to. Ask that person out, because 10 years down the line you may have started a family with them. And never underestimate the tiny actions you make, because they can have an enormous outcome on not only your life, but potentially the lives of so many people for years to come. So if you ever thought your life doesn't matter, believe me, it really does.